Welcome to The Standard from Vancouver. I'm Randall Mark. A little later on in the show, Shannon Nelson talks with Ian Asbury, lead singer of The Cult. First off, using Christian and Buddhist teachings to overcome the sudden loss of a child. The life of our guest has changed substantially in the last few months. A few short months ago, 17-year-old Sean Phillips was suddenly killed in a car accident. His father, Dave Phillips, is no stranger to grief and hardship as a counselor and therapist, but overcoming such a loss oneself is extremely different. Dave has used both Christian and Buddhist meditation to help cope with the grief of losing his son, and he joins us in the studio. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Thanks, Randall. Good to be here.
Take me back into that moment when you got the phone call to come to the hospital because your son had been in this car accident.
Yeah, it's the kind of experience that is really no one wants to go through, and you might even have scenarios in your mind of what it would be like. And I was in a staff meeting, got a call on my cell, a private call, and it was the Abbotsford police saying that my son had been involved in a serious car accident. I had to go to the hospital. My wife's a nurse at the hospital to meet her, and you were with me that day, and we ran out of the office together. And I remember driving, and I did I have three sons, and I thought, okay, Richard's in Calgary, so it's not him. And I instantly thought it was Mark, my son, he has a motorcycle. And then I went, no, Mark took the train that day. And then my heart just fell as I said, it's Sean. Yeah. And I remember driving to the hospital. It was about a 10-minute drive, and the whole time just thinking, oh, just let him be injured, something like that. But I had a sense it was more serious than that. I got there, and I asked you to park the car, and you said, I'll meet you in emergency. And I went, no, they told me to go to the second floor where Adele was.
Obviously something was
off. And then I knew, and I called her on the cell phone on the way, and I said, Adele, where is Sean? And she said, just come up and meet me upstairs. Wow. And I knew, I got into the elevator to go to the second floor, and this older couple came in the elevator, and I just collapsed on the floor, and they said, sir, can we help you? And I said, I think my son is dead. And I went upstairs.
And those moments, everyone fears and dreads hearing those words. Yeah. And yet here you are face to face. I mean, so many years you have been counseling. You're a therapist. Over 20 years of counseling.
Seeing people in the worst moments of life.
What was it like when you were the one now facing that?
It's almost unbelievable. And there's a surreal nature to it all. You feel like you're simultaneously watching yourself experience it while you're experiencing it. And yet when they brought me into that room and explained that Sean had been involved in a fatal car accident, I remember just not able to contain the information. It just, I heard it, the words were there, and yet it was more than my mind could take.
You're in the process of writing a book on grief and loss, and you have a very interesting title, 10 Days in the Mayan, a couple's journey through grief. Yeah. Tell me where the title comes from, and what are some of the ideas in the book?
Right, well, I've got some ideas about grief and loss that I think have been very important to me and very important, I think, for others as they experience it. The journey of grief, Randall, it's a tricky path to walk down. It's important. I embrace a wellness approach to grief, but it's not fraught with potential dangers. And so in the month after Sean died, my wife Adele and I and our two surviving sons went down at the Maya Riviera for a couple weeks. And while we were there, my wife kept a journal where she wrote letters to Sean, very personal letters. And while at the same time, I was going through a process where I was trying from a conceptual framework to make sense of what was going on inside of me. And so I kept kind of a record of that while I was there.
You talked about the difference between pain and suffering. What's the difference between those?
I think that's an important distinction. Pain is a part of life, and none of us can avoid it. And, the sort of pain that I've been going through is trying to come to grips with the loss of Sean. That's just a part of life. And this really comes from a lot of teaching on mindfulness that says, pain, while part of life, does not have to be suffering. We don't have to suffer in the midst of our pain. Now, that's easy just to say.
What do you mean by that?
Well, suffering is a deep soul ache. Okay, and I've done a lot of work with chronic pain patients and trying to help them. Can you walk with your pain and not be the victim of the pain, not be under the burden of the pain, so you can still live a life? Well, the kind of pain that I've had to experience in the last number of months, while not physical, is nonetheless very real, very chronic. I'm not escaping it. So I've had to find a way to walk with this pain, to be present with it, and yet not fall under its blanket so my life stops.
One of the things that, I mean, you have been familiar with many of the Christian teachings on this.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And you're drawing from some Buddhist ideas too. How do you mix those two? Because many people say they can't come together.
Well, I don't subscribe to that idea, and you can put the label on it that it's a Buddhist practice. I've been privileged to have been taught in some mindfulness practices and to read in mindfulness, which comes out of the Buddhist tradition for sure. I see nothing in
what does it mean? Give me a quick little snap.
On mindfulness, really is being present with your experience right now and not trying.
Even if it's hard?
Especially if it's hard. John Kabat-Zinn's got this great line in one of his books. He says, to live life as if each moment were important, as if each moment counted and could be worked with, even if it's a moment of pain, sadness, despair, or fear. And that really is the challenge for most of us as we have to face whatever card we're dealt, however hard it is can I be present with this experience? Can I walk with it without trying to push it away from me or to take some sort of substance to get away, escape from it? Can I be present with it? And that's while a mindful practice, and certainly give a lot of credit to the Dalai Lama and to John Kabat-Zinn and other authors for championing those ideas. In my opinion, they're fully embedded within traditional Christianity as well. I mean, Christ talked about living each day now and not trying to project yourself into the future. The same ideas are there.
Right after these messages, we're going to talk to Dave Phillips about going through the grief and loss of his own son, but we're also going to ask about issues of bitterness. Can there be practices from spiritual traditions that help people work through grief and loss?